Come closer, my friend. The stones are smooth and still warm from the sun. I've kept a place for you, just beside the fire, where the breeze is gentle and the flames cast long, sleepy shadows. Sit, if you will. Let your shoulders sink a little. Let the weight of the day slip from your frame, like a cloak set down after a long road. Listen, do you hear it? The waves brushing against the shore like the turning of pages. No one needs to read aloud. A hush, again and again, as if the sea itself is breathing beside us, slowly, peacefully. That rhythm, it softens everything. The fire's been kind tonight. It took to the driftwood easily, no coaxing needed. Its crackle is quiet now, low and even, a lullaby of embers and warmth. Every now and then it sighs, just as we do, as if grateful for this stillness. You can see how the light dances on the stones, on the blades resting beside us, on the curve of my gauntlet. Everything is gentled by it. Even the armor seems less heavy in this glow. The others, they're near, though you'll find no words between us tonight. Only presence. One is already dozing, chin tucked to chest, helm still on. The other hums, a low tune, something old and tuneless and right. We are together, and that is enough. You're with us now too, and so the circle is whole. The sand beneath you, do you feel it? It's cool and soft beneath the surface, touched by the wind and the salt of the tide. Long ago, this was a place for ships, I think. Now it's just a resting place for the weary, for those with no more to prove. Let the air wrap around you. It smells faintly of brine and heather, with a trace of smoke and iron, the sort of scent that clings to memory. I think the night remembers us here. I think it's glad we've come back. You've done enough for one day, haven't you? There's no more to be chased, no more to be solved, not here. This is a place for the hands to rest, for the heart to steady, for the mind to drift, like a ship with its sail down. Even the stars seem to be listening. See how they blink through the misty veil above the sea. Not too many, not too bright, just a few faithful ones, keeping watch, and the moon pale and round as though she too has drawn nearer to hear the fire's stories, or perhaps to hear yours. You don't need to speak. Not yet. Not tonight. Your silence is as welcome as your voice. You can just be. I will be here, speaking softly, like a stone warmed by sun. There's no hurry, no end. We must race toward. Only this moment, and then the next, and perhaps a dream or two between them. Messiah, what little warmth I have, from the fire, from the night, from what remains in me after all these years. Let it be enough. If you close your eyes for a while, you won't miss anything urgent. The sea will still whisper, the fire will still flicker, and I will still be here, telling you nothing of battles but everything of peace. So rest, dear one. Let the stillness wrap around you like a cloak lined with memory and patience. The world turns slow tonight, and we are exactly where we are meant to be. Welcome, truly. Welcome to the quiet. There, just beyond the firelight. Do you see it? The sea, silvered beneath the moon, shifting gently in her sleep. The tide has come in soft tonight, not crashing nor hurried, just brushing the shore in slow, even strokes, like a lullaby drawn long. The waves do not speak in words, but in presence, in rhythm. They arrive, and they return, always. We've made our camp in a quiet curve of the coast, tucked between the arms of two gentle cliffs. They rise behind us like old guardians, worn smooth by wind and time. Vines drape down their faces in green threads, and moss clings wherever it can find hold, drinking in the sea air. There are no torches here, no watchmen, no battlements overhead, only stone and stillness. The kind of stillness that feels older than any name. The fire burns low now, just as it ought to. We fed it well earlier, driftwood mostly, pale and light and eager to catch. Now it glows in a soft ring, stones cradling the coals like cupped hands. Each ember breathes with quiet life, sending up little sparks now and again, like thoughts you almost forgot. Its warmth reaches us in steady waves, not hot, not biting, just enough to hold the chill at bay. The sand beneath us is cool where the wind has kissed it, but if you dig your fingers just a little beneath, you'll feel the day's warmth still waiting there. I sometimes think the beach remembers, each footprint it takes, each stone it warms, each evening we sit upon it. It keeps them like a kindly scribe, never judging, only recording in the quiet language of texture and tide. Breathe with me for a moment, my friend. The air tastes of salt, and something else. Something faint and green, like rosemary left on the windowsill too long. The sea brings gifts, even in her breath, and in return we offer nothing, just our presence. That's all she asks. Off to the side, the rocks gather like ancient storytellers, half sunk into the earth, wearing cloaks of lichen and listening to the wind. Some are large enough to lean against, to rest your back after long stillness. Others are small and smooth, and fit neatly in the palm, cool to the touch, with that lovely weight that says, "Yes, I've been here longer than you, and I will still be here when you return." Above us, the sky is a cathedral of quiet. The stars tonight are modest, not scattered wildly, but gathered, clustered. They shine in tones of pearl and frost, softened by the faint haze that rolls in off the sea. The moon sits heavy and full, just above the horizon, her light stretching in a silver path across the water. Sometimes I wonder if it's a road, that light. A road for those who've gone before us, or perhaps one meant for dreams. Listen. Can you hear the birds? Not the daytime sort. No gulls, no shrieks, just the slow, solitary notes of the night birds, low, distant. They don't call for company. They simply announce, "I am still here." That's all. And it's enough. My companions sit close, not for warmth, but for comfort. Their armor catches the glow in gentle flickers, not brilliant, not sharp, but softened, burnished by time and flame. We don't speak much. We've shared enough words for several lifetimes, and even in silence there's so much to say. Look at how the shadows fall, my friend. See how they stretch long across the sand, drawn out by the fire's light. Your shadow, mine, the shape of a helm, the curve of a shoulder. They move gently, swaying with the flame, as if dancing to a music we cannot hear. They're not ominous things, not here. Here they are echoes of being, quiet companions, proof that we are here, now together. There's something in the way this place holds sound. The cliffs catch it, cradle it, so even the smallest rustle, a log settling, a breath drawn, lingers. It doesn't feel empty, does it? It feels full, full of rest, full of long exhalations, full of stories told without being spoken. Sometimes I think places like this were made, not by kings or masons, but by the very need to rest. That somewhere long ago the land itself said, "Here, let them stop, let them breathe, let them be," and so we do. Out past the edge of the sand you'll see the driftwood, some half buried, some caught in tide pools, smoothed by years of travel, bone white, tangled in seaweed. They look like bones from a gentle giant, or perhaps letters from a language only the sea remembers. There is no rush to interpret them. They are simply there, like us, weathered, softened, and still beautiful. Further up the cliffside, if your eyes adjust, you might see patches of heather growing in tufts. Hardy little blooms, purple and soft. They shouldn't be able to grow there, not in rock, but they do, and no one tells them otherwise. Even the wind has quieted. It moves in long, even breaths, tracing through your cloak, brushing along the edge of your hair. It doesn't press or pull. It just reminds you that you're part of the world, that you belong here too. I sometimes come to places like this and wonder how many others have sat where we are now, not just in form but in feeling, tired but safe, worn but whole, quiet and grateful for it. Perhaps they left nothing behind but warmth. Perhaps that's enough. It's strange, isn't it? How a place can feel like it's waiting for you, even though it doesn't know your name. This beach, this night, this flame, they're not here because of us, and yet somehow it feels like they were meant for us all along. So stay, just a while longer. Let the night carry your breath, slow and even. Let the sea sing its rhythm against the shore. Let the fire hum its little tune. Soft, steady, faithful. You've arrived, dear heart. There's nothing more to chase. The world, at least this corner of it, is finally still. And it is listening. Just like me. Would you mind if I speak plainly, just for a while? Here, with the fire low and the sea close, truth feels gentler than it does by daylight. The kind of truth that isn't sharpened for battle, but softened by time, like leather worn smooth from use, or parchment folded so often it begins to remember your hands. You've likely guessed already. I am no longer a knight in the way that title once demanded. My sword lies there beside me. Yes, and the plates I wear still bear the marks of years spent in distant places. But I haven't raised a blade in a long, long while, not out of fear or bitterness or some vow, but simply because I found no need. That time passed, like a wave that came and then was gone. Once I sought many things, some noble, some foolish, a banner to follow, a battle worth the scars, a name that might echo long after I'd stopped speaking it myself. I crossed mountains and markets and muddy fields chasing those things, always with that particular kind of hunger only youth understands, the kind that gnaws even when you're full. But now, I carry no hunger, not even for answers. I've laid down more than my sword, you see. I've set aside other weights too, hopes that became too heavy, regrets that never quite found a shape. And not with sorrow. No, nothing so dramatic. More like setting a stone back on the riverbank, knowing the current will carry it somewhere new. I think that's what peace truly is, not the absence of noise or trouble, but the space between thoughts, the quiet pause where nothing is demanded of you. No proving, no earning, no explaining, just breath, and the world as it is. You'll hear that hum? That's Bren sitting to the left of the fire, cloak wrapped about his shoulders. He hums like that when the air is right. I don't think he means to. It's not a song he knows, but something his bones remember. The kind of music that lives deep inside a person, older than language. I've never asked him to stop. I never would. It's one of the sounds that makes this place feel like home. And on the other side, that still figure, helm resting heavy on bowed shoulders. That's Era. He sleeps sitting up, always has. Says it keeps his dreams from falling too deeply. Whether or not that's true, I've never pressed. We've each our little ways of keeping close what matters. As for me, well, I'm here with you, aren't I? Knees drawn, hands open, voice low. I am not what I once was, and that is no tragedy. If anything, it's a kind of becoming. Like how driftwood is still wood, though the sea has smoothed its bark and lightened its weight. In earlier days I thought I would be remembered for deeds, for victories tallied, banners raised, oaths fulfilled. But now I think, if I am remembered at all, let it be for this, that I once made a place quiet enough for a friend to rest. That I once kept a fire lit long into the night, simply because someone else might need the light. It's strange, isn't it? How quiet the world becomes when you stop trying to shape it, when you simply let it unfold. I find more meaning in the way the flame flickers along the curve of my gauntlet than I ever did in the cries of the battlefield. There's something holy in stillness, something soft and ancient and wise. Sometimes I'll sit here long after the others sleep, just watching the tide pull its silver threads across the sand. And I'll think, I've come far, not in distance, though I've known miles beyond measure, but in direction. I once walked outward. Now I settle inward. The road's no less real for turning home. Do you feel it too, my friend? This ease in the bones, this looseness in the breath. That's what I've found in these twilight hours. Not answers, but acceptance. Not glory, but grace. A quieter kind of knowing, like moss learning how to cling, or stars learning how to wait. It isn't perfect peace. Not always. Some nights are restless. Some thoughts return, but even those I welcome. They remind me I'm still living, still present, still capable of being shaped. Even now, you're welcome to stay, for as long as you'd like. You don't need to tell me who you are or path brought you here. I'll not ask. You've already said enough by being near, and that's more than most ever do. So I offer you this, not a tale of conquest, but a kind of companionship, a quiet presence beside the fire, a shared breath in a world that often forgets to pause. You and I, we are not here to fix anything, only to witness, to rest, to be. Let the waves go on whispering. Let the sparks drift where they may, and let us sit together in this stillness, two souls who've laid down the weight for a while. I'll keep the fire. You keep your breath slow. That's all that's needed now. Would you like to hear what I've been doing with my quiet hours here by the sea? It's nothing grand, not like quests of old. There are no dragons to chase, no maps inked in haste, no townsfolk awaiting word. No, what I've taken on now is quieter than all that. It's a task so soft, it would go unnoticed by the world at large. But here, beneath the hush of stars and the hush of waves, it feels like the only thing that matters. As I've been collecting the ocean sups. Lullabies, not in the way a scholar might. No charts or scrolls or ink-blotted theories, and not as a bard would, with songs for coin or company. No, I listen. That's all. Each night, I sit, just where I am now, a little nearer the shore sometimes, when the tide permits, and I simply let the sounds come to me. And then when something catches, I write it down, not in words always, but in shapes and fragments and feeling, in rhythm, in breath. You might think it strange, this idea of lullabies from the sea, But I promise you, my friend, if you truly listen with your whole self, you'll hear it too. The waves never arrive the same way twice. Some nights they are long sighs, pulled slow and deep, like a sleeping child. Other nights they patter softly, like fingers brushing silk. And then there are the rare evenings, my favorite, when the tide comes in like a distant drumbeat, slow and steady, as though the earth itself is rocking back and forth in its slumber. These sounds, they aren't just noise, they carry shape, emotion. Sometimes when the wind folds in just so, I swear I can hear something like a verse, not in any tongue I know, but in meaning. It moves through me like memory, even if I couldn't name the memory it stirs. I've a journal for this work, a small thing bound in leather, softened at the corners by years of turning. It bears no crest, no name, no mark of origin, just a strap to close it, and enough pages to outlast my time here. Inside you'll find no real writing, not in the way you'd expect. Just loops and curls, arcs and pauses, lines that rise and fall in mimicry of breath, or tide or tone. Tonight, would you like to hear the latest one? It came to me just last dusk, when the wind shifted eastward and brought with it the scent of pine from the cliffs. I was listening, as I always do, to the point where I almost forgot I was listening. That's when it arrived, faint as the hush of a hand brushing your shoulder. It was 3 notes, or feelings rather. One like a lantern being gently lowered into still water, the next like cloth being folded slowly, reverently, and the last like a farewell given without sorrow, just the soft exhale of release. I wrote them down, not as music, but as a curve of line, 3 ripples branching from a central stem, like seagrass caught in slow motion. I called it the leaving that lingers, not because it was sad, no, but because it stayed with me, like warmth from a fire long after you've stepped away. That's what this task has become for me. Not a duty, but a devotion, a way of tending to stillness as one might tend to a garden or a prayer, listening to what the world offers in its gentlest voice and choosing to remember it. And sometimes I wonder if I'm the only one doing this, or if somewhere along another shore there's another soul, maybe with calloused hands and a quiet mind, listening to the same tide, hearing a different song. Maybe the sea sings differently to each of us. Maybe that's the point. I think, in a way, it's always been singing, even when I was younger, chasing noise and name and need. I think the lullabies were always there. I just didn't yet know how to be quiet enough to hear them. But I hear them now, more clearly with each passing night. And more than that, I feel them. They live in my shoulders, in the rhythm of my breathing, in the way my hands rest open now instead of closed. The world, it seems, hums a lullaby, not just to rock us to sleep, but to invite us back to ourselves. You see, the longer I stay here, the more I come to believe that silence isn't empty. It's not the absence of something, but the presence of many small things, things too gentle to shout, too soft to demand our attention. But once you learn to notice them, they're everywhere. The hush before the fire cracks, the way sand settles after your foot leaves it, the moment between heartbeats when the body forgets to remember its own rhythm, all lullabies in their own way. And perhaps this is the only quest worth taking now, to collect those things, not to own them, or explain them, or even to share them broadly, but simply to bear witness, to say, yes, I heard that, I was there, and I listened. Tonight, As the tide draws its silver line across the shore, I think I'll write again. Just a small passage. Nothing ornate. Maybe just a single curved line, rising and falling like the breath of a sleeping friend. I'll write it for no one. Not even for myself. Really. Just for the sea. In case she wants to be remembered. And in the morning when I wake, if I wake, I won't check it or read it back. It's enough to have listened. It's this enough to have been quiet. You're welcome to listen with me, if you'd like. We won't need words, just presence, just breath. For even here, even now, the lullabies continue. The fire is low now, isn't it? Just a quiet shimmer of coals, soft and breathing like a heartbeat turned to ember. We've fed it well, and in return it gives us this warmth enough to rest by, and light just faint enough to soften the world. The flames no longer leap. They curl in slow spirals, the way a memory does when it returns without warning, gentle and unannounced. This is the hour I like best, my friend. The hour when the world forgets to perform, when even the trees grow still, when thoughts come uninvited, not the heavy kind, not those that press at the gates of sleep, but the light ones, the drifting ones, the ones that arrive not as burdens, but as guests. Would you mind if I shared a few? Nothing important, just small wonders, moments that rose from the quiet, the way stars rise from dusk, unnoticed until they've already begun to glow. There was one night, not far from here, though many years ago, when a fox came to the edge of my camp. I was sitting much like I am now, fire just beginning to fade, and I'd thought myself alone. But there it was, just a fox, soft and russet paws like whispered footfalls over the sand. It didn't run, didn't shy, just sat down just there across from me, as though it too had been walking a long while and needed the company of flame. We didn't speak, of course, though that sort of silence isn't made for words, but it lingered for a while, long enough for me to forget to be surprised, long enough to feel known somehow. Then, as quietly as it came, it stood, turned, and vanished into the tall grass behind the dunes, tail like a ribbon of night. Torthacher will have thought about that fox more often than I can explain, not because it was rare, though perhaps it was, but because it asked nothing of me. It just was. And I think there's a kind of wisdom in that, don't you? Some creatures don't need answers, only nearness. Another evening, quieter than this, if you can believe it, I found a stone buried just beneath the tide line. I wasn't looking for it. I'd walked the shore mostly to feel the water's chill on my feet, to let it wash away the dust of the day. But then my toe caught something smooth, something firm but yielding. I knelt, and there it was, a stone shaped like a teardrop, worn perfectly by years of tide and time, and inside, just at its center, a shimmer, the faintest glint of silver, like a thread of moonlight trapped in glass. I kept it, not for what it looked like, but for what it stirred. It reminded me of someone long gone, someone I loved in the quiet way that doesn't raise banners or carve names, but settles instead into the marrow, like warmth that lingers long after touch. That stone sits now in the fold of my satchel. I don't look at it often, but I know it's there, like memory, like breath. And then there was the tavern. Years before the fox, before the stone. It was raining. I remember that clearly, a storm that soaked through even the thickest cloak, and yet left us laughing. We were 3 knights at the time, younger, louder, and we'd taken shelter in a crooked little inn with a hearth too small for its room. There wasn't much to drink, and even less to say, but one of my companions, Bren, I believe, told a story so absurd, so utterly tangled in its own nonsense, that by the end of it we were doubled over. I remember the look on Air's face, tears streaming down his cheeks, laughter like something breaking free for the first time in years. His helm sat on the table between us, rain still dripping from its edge, and in that moment, in that small flickering place, we weren't soldiers. We weren't tired or scarred or bound by duty. We were just there, and it was enough. Moments like that, you don't chase them. They come unbidden like dandelion seeds on the wind. You hold them gently and let them go when the wind calls them on. Even now, sitting here beside you, the night reminding us both to breathe a little deeper, I find myself wondering how many such wonders I missed in all the years I was looking too far ahead, too focused on the next path, too full of urgency to see the small beauties blooming at my feet. A curl of smoke rising in the shape of a question mark. The way the tide sometimes leaves perfect circles in the sand, like coins from a forgotten kingdom. The hush of moss growing between stone and steel. These are the treasures I've come to value most. Not because they're rare, but because they ask nothing of me. No judgment, no achievement, only attention, only stillness. I've begun to think that's what magic really is. Not lightning or prophecy, but presence. The ability to sit in one place long enough to see it for what it is. And here, now, as the fire dwindles and your breath grows slow beside mine, I find I am filled with a kind of soft gratitude, not for grand victories or distant memories, but for this moment, this one. The way the firelight dances on your cheek, the way the breeze carries the scent of salt and wood smoke, the way the night does not rush us. Even the stars seem unhurried. See how they blink, not with urgency, but with knowing, as if they too are watching this moment unfold, quietly, kindly, without expectation. There is no story to finish here, no lesson to be drawn tight and tied, just a string of little seashells held up to the ear of your heart, each one whispering some small truth, that the world is wider, gentler, and more wonder-filled than we are often taught to believe. So rest easy, my friend. Let these small wonders tuck themselves into the folds of your dreaming. Let them drift through your sleep like leaves across a quiet pond. And when morning comes, as it always does, soft and golden, carry just one of them with you. One laugh, one fox, one shimmer in the sand. It will be enough. The night deepens now. Can you feel it, my friend? That slow hush settling over everything, like a blanket laid gently over the shoulders of the world. Even the fire has quieted further, glowing more than burning, less a flame now, more a memory of warmth. This is the hour when reflection rises. My voice may sound different to you, slower, yes, and lower. That's not tiredness, not quite. It's simply what happens when the heart leans inward. There's something about this time, when even the stars seem to lean close and listen, that invites a softer kind of truth. When I was younger, and I say that with no wistfulness, only recognition, I thought bravery was loud. I believed it lived in raised banners, in shouted defiance, in bold charges into the unknown. I thought the brave were those who pressed forward, teeth clenched, hearts racing, never pausing to ask if the path was kind. But time teaches by way of stillness. by repetition, by small undoings and gentle revisions. Now I think bravery is something else entirely. Bravery to me is the choice to be still when the world begs you to run. It is sitting with your own silence when it would be easier to fill it. It is letting go, not with bitterness, but with tenderness. It is knowing that not every thread must be tied, not every song must end in a crescendo. There is a kind of courage in unclenching, in resting without guilt, in standing unseen and still saying, "This too is enough." The sea taught me that. In her own way, she doesn't rush, she doesn't shout. She simply returns, again and again, in tide and foam and hush. She comes to the shore without asking to be praised for it, and when she pulls back, she does so without apology. Everything returns. That's something I've come to believe, not in a rigid, fated sense, but in a wide, forgiving way. Not always in the shape it once was, of course. Not always where you left it, but what's true, what matters, it finds its way back, in other forms, in other rhythms. Sometimes when I've sat here long enough, with the stars above and the tide below, I imagine my own thoughts washing in and out, like sea glass tumbled smooth by time, sharp edges worn away, meaning softened into feeling, fear thinned into quiet. Letting go, I think, is not about losing. It's about trusting that you no longer need to carry everything, that you can open your hands and still remain whole. There are nights, more often now, when I look to the stars and speak aloud to them, not with expectation, not as a plea, but the way one speaks to a friend who knows your heart well enough not to answer. Sometimes I share little nothings, things I've noticed, things I've remembered. Other times I simply sit and say their names, the names of those I once loved, the names of places that shaped me, the names of parts of myself I no longer wear on the outside. There's comfort in it, like laying smooth stones in a circle, a way of saying, you were here, you still are. You know, I used to think rest was what came after the story had ended, after the task was done, the beast defeated, the crown earned. But now I believe rest is part of the story itself, not a reward, but a sacred act, a chapter all its own. There is strength in pausing, in stepping out of the light and letting the quiet rise around you, in letting your breath lead for once, instead of your will. That's the gift this place has given me, not transformation, but release. A reminder that I don't need to be the sum of what I've done, that I am allowed to simply be, unseen, unneeded, and somehow still complete. For sometimes, I wonder if this is what the stars feel when they shine without audience, when no one is looking up, and still they glow. They don't do it for glory. They do it because it is their nature, because it brings them peace. And so I shine in my own quiet way, here, with you. There are still moments when the old world calls, the one of action and proving and purpose tied in knots. But they pass more easily now. Like weather, I acknowledge them. I thank them for visiting, and then I let them go. There steps room, now, for other things. For moss growing on cold stone, for the scent of salt, caught in wool, for a single flame that burns just long enough to tell a story. You, sitting beside me, breathing softly. You're part of that too. You don't have to say a word. Your nearness is enough. There's a kind of knowing that doesn't need names. A way of being together that isn't measured by speech, but by the way the silence feels between us. Safe, full, whole. You may not know it, or perhaps you do, but simply by resting here, by allowing yourself to soften, to breathe, to stop, you are practicing a form of bravery that few understand. The world may not reward it, but I see it. Thy way, then I honor it. Let the stars listen. Let the tide write its slow song across the shore. Let your shoulders fall a little further. Let the fire glow without asking for more. You are enough, just as you are, in stillness, in breath, in the slow unraveling of all that you once held tight. This is what peace feels like. Not a roar, but a hush. Not a conclusion, but a returning, a remembering of how to be. So stay, dear one, just a while longer. We have no need for movement now, only presence, only quiet, only this. The fire is coals now. No more flicker, no more leap, just the slow, steady glow of embers nestled deep within the stones, like a heart at rest. Like breath beneath blankets, it no longer asks to be fed. It simply offers what it has, and that is enough. I've always loved this part of the night, when light no longer shines outward, but folds inward, when it's not meant to illuminate, but to comfort. The others have drifted off, as I knew they would. Bren murmured something, half-formed not long ago, a word, maybe a name, then settled in with a quiet breath and turned his shoulder to the sea. And airy, he never really speaks before sleep, just lowers his head, arms folded across his chest, helm beside him like a companion who never leaves. Now they're both still, wrapped in dreams, the kind that don't trouble the brow or stir the limbs, the kind that drift like smoke over still water. And you, still beside me, I feel your presence like a candle behind silk, gentle, warm, unspoken. It's strange, isn't it? How connection can grow in silence, how stillness can make us feel closer than 1,000 shared words. I've tucked my journal away. There'll be no more writing tonight. The page I left open earlier is still half filled, but I think that's fitting. Not every thought needs finishing. Some are meant to trail off, like footsteps fading down a shoreline. I'll return to it tomorrow, or I won't. It'll wait either way. And the sword, you noticed, didn't you? It's lying just there, in the sand, untouched. No hand wrapped round its grip, no purpose drawn toward it. It rests the way I do, not abandoned, not forgotten, just unneeded. I think even it understands somehow that there are nights when no defense is required, when the world does not come knocking, when stillness is the only guest worth welcoming. The air is cool now, not cold, not sharp, just enough to close the corners of your cloak. The breeze from the water has changed. It no longer carries salt and movement, but something softer, like sleep woven into wind. I breathe it in slowly, let it fill the spaces where worry used to dwell. Do you feel it too? The way everything quiets at once? The waves now speak in lower tones. Even the birds have ceased their distant calls, and above us stars unwavering, serene, not watching, not waiting, simply being. It's a comfort, I think, to know that not everything needs tending, that some things go on just fine without us. The stars do not rise because we watch them. The sea does not hush because we ask it to. And yet we are welcomed by them all the same. We've gathered all the night has given, its stillness, its warmth, its long breaths, and quiet gifts, and now, I think, we can let it hold us, not as something to conquer or to solve, but as a cradle, as a hush, at the end of a song. Let the sand take the shape of your resting. Let the earth carry your weight. Let your hands soften, your spine ease. There's no posture to keep, no readiness required, only the slow falling away of effort. You've done more than enough, my friend, not just today, but in all the days behind it. And tonight you're allowed to set it all down. Let your eyes drift where they will. Let your breath guide you inward, deeper, slower, until the edges blur, until thoughts come not as sentences, but as feeling, until the fire, the stars, the sound of my voice, all begin to fade into one gentle, glowing quiet. If I could offer you anything, here at the edge of this night, it would not be answers, not clarity or purpose or names remembered. It would be this: the space to rest without asking permission, and the knowledge that your presence, just as you are, is enough. So rest, dear one. I'll stay with you a while longer, not watching, not guarding, just beside you. A warmth you can lean against without effort. You stir safe. You stir home. You stir held. And everything that needed saying tonight has already been spoken in silence. Only the hush of waves now, and the soft breath of night curling around us like a shawl. You've grown quiet, my friend, and I feel the weight of sleep brushing gently at the edge of your thoughts. That is good. That is right. There is nothing more that needs doing, nothing more to say. Just this moment, held like a shell cupped in your palm, smooth and full of echo. The fire is nearly gone. Not out, no, just resting. Its last embers pulse with the color of memory, a faint orange glow, steady and slow, like the rhythm of your breath. The light doesn't reach far now, it gathers close instead, a circle of warmth drawn in tight, like arms around shoulders. Even the tide has softened. The sea's voice, once broad and full, has dimmed to a whisper, as if it too is easing into slumber. A lullaby spoken in wave and foam, back and forth, always returning. And you here beside me, you've shared your quiet, you've let the world soften around you. That is no small thing. Not everyone knows how to stop, how to let stillness find them. So I'll speak only once more, just above the embers, just loud enough for the night to carry it to you. And then I too will fall to silence. May your dreams drift soft as sea glass, and your heart be lighter than moonlight. May the hush of waves cradle you kindly, and may no burden follow you beyond this hour. Let every thought, every worry fall away like a cloak at your feet. Let sleep gather you the way the tide gathers sand, slowly, gently, with no need to hold shape. You are safe here. You are allowed to rest, and should you stir in the dark uncertain, know that I'll be here still, listening, breathing, letting the stars and the sea keep their watch. There's no need to reach for me. I'll be near, like warmth you forgot was there, or a familiar voice in a dream. Now let your eyelids fall, like leaves settling in water. Let the last of this night carry you gently away, and when morning finds you, whenever it may come, let it find you lighter. Good night, dear heart.